Welcome to the video recording of our paper, Large Datasets, a Pyrrhic Win for Computer Vision. Supervised classification in computer vision. What does it typically entail? Well, you have a bunch of images. Associated with a bunch of images are the labels, and then you harness this dataset to train machine learning models. Have you ever wondered where these datasets come from or how these datasets are curated? Literature survey suggests that they go through 5 different subphases. You have the proposal phase, then comes the resource acquisition phase, then comes taxonomy sourcing, followed by image retrieval, and then you have the labeling and validation phase. And people have also critically analyzed the possible shortcomings of each of these phases. You have one elephant in the room that people have not addressed with regards to the modern computer vision data sets are images with label. That's the proverbial elephant in the room, and the associated issue of consent that we explore in this paper. A quick glance at the state of the art with regards to computer vision reveals that you have a plethora of data sets, such as have tens or even hundreds of millions of images, spanning across tens of thousands of categories, and you see that there is no issue of obtained consent with regard to the humans or the people in these data sets. So you have images like these that are actually found in academic data sets that we use to train machine learning models. And specifically with regards to the taxonomy sourcing phase, we have what is called as the WordNet effect. So the project WordNet was the vision of George Armitage Miller, and he started the project at Princeton Cognitive Science Laboratory in 1985. And even the Wikipedia page basically talks about like the probable offensive content that includes racial slurs, and that's been very carelessly harnessed to form labels with regards to the computer vision datasets. So, WordNet was used to kind of fuel the label space for tiny images, ImageNet, and Tencent ML images. And with regards to tiny images, we have given a bunch of examples in the paper that were in the dataset. With regards to the ImageNet dataset, the larger ImageNet dataset, you had the issue with the person subtree where the ImageNet team themselves admitted that out of the 232 classes, only 158 of them were to be retained, and the rest of them were either offensive labels or they were not imageable. And lest we forget that the new dataset, that is the Tencent ML images, still has those 315 unsafe synsets because it was derived out of ImageNet dataset. So here's the threat landscape. So firstly, you have the issue of reverse image search that might lead to loss of privacy. And then it also abets the culture of larger and more opaque datasets. And examples of that is the GFT300M. You have the promulgation of the Creative Commons fallacy. Just because something is tagged as Creative Commons license does not mean that you completely ignore the issue of individual privacy. And then, of course, you have the blood diamond effect, where you basically have the downstream effect seen in the models that have been trained on these malicious datasets. Affects neural art, as well as, in this case, autoregressive completions. You have, of course, the perpetuation of unjust and harmful stereotypes. Here you see examples from the tiny images dataset, where we have images of people's faces mapped to entities like child molester and rape suspect. Candidate solutions. And what's the path ahead? Well, we firstly admit that there's no single silver bullet fix. However, there's the remove, replace, and open strategy that we kind of address in the paper. And if you're a curator, I think the onus is on you to basically have a system in place to cater to the image deletion requests. There's also the option of differentially, private obfuscation of the faces in the dataset. There is the option of utilizing more of the synthetic to real and dataset distillation kind of techniques. The option of ethics reinforced filtering during the curation process itself, so that the Amazon mechanical Turkers are educated in with regards to the consent facet of things. And we also believe that the constitution of IRBs will certainly help the cause in the longer run. And of course, with regards to the quantitative side of things, we can also publish dataset audit cards, an example of which we kind of provide in the paper with regards to the ImageNet dataset, a bunch of example images belonging to these categories. And we have curated a bunch of resources for the communities with regards to the quantitative side of things. So we created 3 core repositories, one on dataset audits, one on ML images dataset, and the other one which we label as crimes of vision datasets. And we'd also, on the concluding note, like to acknowledge the fact that during the review period of this paper, the group at MIT and NYU basically, on the basis of this work, decided to take down the tiny images dataset. With this, we'd like to conclude the paper. Thank you so much.